When my wife, Rachel, looked me in the eyes and said, "Tom, I'm not happy. I want a divorce," it felt like the ground opened up beneath me. I was stunned, sure, but deep down, I can't say I was completely surprised. After almost 2 decades of marriage, I had noticed her leaning more and more on her friend Natalie, a self-proclaimed relationship guru whose real-world wisdom came from 3 failed marriages of her own. "Tom, did you hear me? I said I want a divorce," Rachel repeated. "I heard you," I replied as calmly as I could. "This isn't something I want to react to out of anger. I've always tried to be a good husband, a present father. You never gave me a hint that things were off between us, especially not in the bedroom. So yeah, I'm surprised. But if staying married is making you this unhappy, I won't stand in your way." I took a deep breath before asking, "Is this something that just started, or has it been building for a while?" She looked at me, cold and distant. "It's been building. I need space, time to figure things out, meet new people. We legally have to separate for 90 days after we sign, so who knows? I might change my mind before the divorce is finalized." I nodded slowly. "From what I've read, during the separation, we're free to see other people. But it takes both of us to agree to cancel the divorce. Either one of us can go through with it alone." That caught her off guard. I thought if I filed first, I'd be the one who decided whether to stop it or not. I shook my head. "That's not how it works, Rachel. I'll be filing too. That way we're both on equal footing." "Sound fair?" She hesitated. "Are you saying you want a divorce too?" "No," I said. "I'm not asking for one. But if you feel like this marriage is holding you back, then clearly I've failed somewhere." "I won't hold you back. You've been a great mother and wife in many ways, but maybe I wasn't enough." "Do you already have a lawyer?" I asked. "No, but I plan to call Blake Miller. Natalie said he's great. He handled all 3 of her divorces." "Natalie again," I thought. "I'll probably ask my cousin Jessica," I replied. "You don't like her much, but she's sharp and kind-hearted. She said if I ever needed her as a lawyer, she'd represent me for free." "Wow," Rachel muttered. "So, what now?" "Let's use the next 2 weeks to get things in order," I said. "We'll start the separation on the 1st of the month." "Why wait?" she asked. "Because a separation is like a test run for divorce. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. Figure out what life apart really looks like so there's no confusion later." "I didn't think about it like that," she admitted. "I'll grab a notepad," I said. "Let's make a list of what we need to sort out. I'll start the coffee." When she joined me in the kitchen, I was already jotting things down. "Let's start with the girls." "What do you mean?" she asked, a little defensive. "We need to sit them down and explain what's happening together. Make sure they know it's not their fault. Keep the message consistent." She looked uneasy. "Telling them won't be easy." "No, it won't. But if we wait, they'll figure it out on their own. Better to be honest. I think you should stay in the house during the separation. It'll help keep their routine steady." "What if one of us starts seeing someone else?" she asked. "What if the girls see that?" "That's why we need rules. If either of us dates, we don't bring the new person home while the other parent is around, especially not in front of the girls." We talked about money next. "Running 2 households isn't cheap," I said. "We'll both have to adjust. We'll split our assets down the middle, close joint accounts, and set up child support." "Understood," Rachel replied, clearly overwhelmed. "I'll look for an apartment near work." "Good," I said. "That way, the girls will have a place to sleep when they stay with you." "Honestly," she said, "I expected you to be out dating more." "You know I love spending time with the girls," I said. "But you'll have to pick up some of the slack I usually cover. Weeknights might be tricky because of school stuff. And if you end up with someone who's got kids too, you'll be juggling even more." We also talked about logistics, clothes, school pickup, transportation. "If I end up living off the bus route, that's another hurdle." "This isn't how Natalie said it would go," Rachel muttered. "She thought you'd cave in, offer to keep things the same while I dated around." "I guess I'm not playing the role she expected," I said, watching the panic grow in her eyes. "I need to sleep on this," Rachel said finally. "We'll talk more tomorrow." "All right," I replied. "I just want to write a few more things down while it's fresh." I stayed up most of the night, organizing our life into checklists and budget lines. Rachel didn't know I was already sound asleep in the guest room by the time she got up the next morning. She walked into the kitchen to find the coffee pot still warm and my notepad sitting on the table. She flipped through the pages and saw how detailed it was. Mortgage, utilities, insurance, car payments, health plans, everything broken down. I even added a budget estimate for living in an apartment and calculated how much child support would be needed to keep the girls comfortable. There was a shortfall of several $100s a month. I suggested cutting out things like my weekly Waffle House breakfasts and Starbucks runs, small things, but they added up. Rachel looked over my handwritten notes and couldn't hide her irritation. She added a few of her own items to the expenses list. Things like her gym membership, that women's group she attended every Thursday, and her habit of eating out more than once a week. I had already included costs for the girls, sports fees, uniforms, school supplies, and made another list of day-to-day tasks she'd now have to handle herself. Refueling her car, routine oil changes, calling a plumber or HVAC repair guy, mowing the lawn, washing the car, doing the grocery shopping. Everything. She set the notebook down with a sigh and muttered, "Why isn't Tom acting the way I thought he would?" Then she slipped off to the bedroom, grabbed her phone, and called Natalie. "Keep your voice down. He's still asleep," Rachel whispered. "Well?" Natalie asked, sounding a little too eager. "How did it go?" "Not how I expected," Rachel admitted. "He didn't get angry. He didn't try to win me back. He just calmly agreed and started going down a checklist like he's been planning this himself." "Let me guess," Natalie scoffed. "He's trying to make you feel helpless by spelling out everything he does. Typical manipulation. But remember, you've got the real power here. You've got the kids, and you've got what's between your legs. Don't worry. He's bluffing. Soon you'll be with Michael and still married, living the best of both worlds." "I hope you're right," Rachel murmured. "I'm not sure how much longer I can play along." "He hasn't made any legal moves yet, right?" Natalie asked. "No, not yet." "Then relax. He's just trying to rattle you." Rachel ended the call just as I walked into the kitchen. "Coffee's ready," she said, suddenly chipper. "Thanks," I replied, rubbing my eyes. Though coffee this late wasn't the best idea. I didn't sleep much. "Why didn't you come to bed?" she asked. I hesitated. Honestly, I didn't trust myself. Seeing you asleep, the way you looked. I still find you beautiful. But I couldn't help but wonder if you'd be doing it just to ease my pain. "We're still married," she said, a little confused. "Can't we just act like husband and wife until the separation starts?" "I don't think that's a good idea," I said. Emotionally, that line's already been crossed. When you told me you were unhappy, that was the beginning of the end. If we're going to do this, we should do it the right way, starting now. Rachel nodded slowly, clearly not expecting that. "You know, this separation doesn't have to end in divorce. Maybe some space will help us come back stronger." "I hope so," I said, even though I was starting to doubt it. "But today I'm taking off work. Billy can run the crew. You and I need to handle our accounts, joint bills, and all that other stuff." Later that day, while Rachel was at work, Michael, her smooth-talking coworker, dropped by her office to chat. She pretended to be nervous, but truth be told, she was thrilled. Her mind wandered back to the time they got a little too close in the elevator. She didn't regret it. Not really. When she got home that evening, she saw that I'd been there, sorting out more paperwork and clearing out drawers. That gave her a strange sense of relief. Maybe part of her thought I'd already be gone. She sat at the kitchen table and flipped through the notebook again. I had added more to the to-do list. But one new page stopped her cold. It was titled, "Women Who Might Be Interested." There were 2 columns. One for women who had already expressed some interest, and one for women I was just curious about. What shook Rachel the most was seeing her own sister's name at the top of the first list. Furious, she grabbed her phone and dialed Sarah. "How could you?" Rachel snapped the moment her sister answered. Whoa, what's this about?" Sarah said. "You're on Tom's list of women who want to date him." Sarah was quiet for a beat, then said, "Look, I may have made a comment once after too many drinks. I said if your dumb self ever gave up on a great guy like Tom, I'd be first in line. What's going on over there? Did you cheat on him, or did he catch you sneaking around?" "That's none of your business," Rachel hissed. "We're doing a trial separation." "Trial separation, huh?" Sarah said coldly. "You're looking for something on the side. Just be honest." "I haven't done anything with anyone yet," Rachel insisted. "We're just figuring things out." "Well, once you are officially separated, I'll be giving him a call. A man like Tom doesn't come around twice." Rachel hung up, seething. She looked back at the list. Lauren, Tom's secretary, was on it too, 20 years younger and a single mom, no less. The thought of her husband dating someone like that made Rachel's stomach turn. There were more names, some married, some not. A few were even from our hometown. At the bottom of the list were vague entries: waitress from Waffle House, barista from Starbucks, clerk from Walmart. Rachel realized she had underestimated how many women actually noticed Tom and liked what they saw. I walked in and saw her looking at the notebook. I could feel the air thicken. "Well," I said, "looks like you wasted no time thinking about a replacement." Didn't expect my own sister, though. Rachel glared at me. "I was just looking at what you wrote. I haven't replaced you." "Really?" I asked. "What about Michael Hayes?" Her eyes narrowed. "How do you know about that?" "I ran into Megan, your boss's secretary, at Walmart. She's not exactly quiet, and she said Michael visits you almost daily." "Michael's just an old college friend," Rachel said quickly. "We have lunch sometimes, that's all." "Well, his Facebook says he's married to a woman named Victoria. 2 sons. Updated just 3 days ago." Rachel's jaw dropped. "He never mentioned a wife." "I swear, I would never get involved with a married man." I stared at her. "Seems like breaking up a marriage isn't such a big deal to you anymore." "Mine, at least." She looked away. "So," I said, "what's next for you and Michael?" "Nothing. He's just one guy I was considering." "You're acting like I'm sleeping around." "I'm not saying you are," I said, "but since you mentioned dating during this separation, we're going to need to exchange health records before anything gets rekindled between us." "Just being safe." "You're overreacting," she muttered. "Maybe. Maybe not. But I want to make sure if we end up with someone else, we know what we're dealing with." Later, I brought up the apartment. Found a place not far from work. The Royal Arms has a 2-bedroom. If I take over some maintenance work, they'll knock the rent down. More money in your pocket, and the girls will still have a decent place to stay. "You haven't signed yet, right?" she asked, sounding suddenly unsure. "No. But Lauren, the night manager there, she offered to make an exception for 90 days. When she heard about the divorce, she told me she was interested. I turned her down. She suggested I find a new job if our work policy was a problem. That's why her name's on the list." Rachel bit her lip, clearly fuming, but didn't say a word. Before she could, I added, "Oh, and there's something else you might want to hear. I had planned a surprise trip for our 20th wedding anniversary, 10 days in Hawaii. I even booked it a few months ahead, thinking it would be the perfect way to mark 2 decades together. But once Rachel brought up divorce, I realized we might not even make it that far." She noticed the airline confirmation sitting on the table and her whole mood changed. "Hawaii?" she asked, wide-eyed. "You know I've always dreamed of going. Thank you so much. This means the world to me." I stayed quiet for a moment, then said flatly, "We're not going together." Her smile vanished. "What?" "I tried to cancel the trip when you told me you wanted a divorce, but I was too late. They only gave me a small refund. So I had them change the booking. It's still a trip for 2, but now it's in your name. You can take whoever you want. Maybe it's a good way to kick off your new life." "But I wanted to go with you," she said, her voice cracking. "We can put off the separation, maybe skip it altogether. I've had time to think. I don't feel as unhappy as I thought I was." "I've thought about it too," I replied. "But even if you said you changed your mind, I can't pretend you never said those words. I keep picturing things you might have done with that coworker of yours, Michael. I'm moving forward with the divorce, Rachel. I have to. As much as it kills me, I can't go back." I picked up my overnight bag and headed to the stairs, leaving her speechless in the kitchen. She called her best friend Natalie right away. "Everything's gone off the rails," Rachel whispered. "Tom's already found an apartment. His secretary's apparently into him. Even my own sister said she wants to date him. And the worst part? He booked that Hawaii trip for our anniversary, and now he's giving it to me to take some new boyfriend." Natalie laughed. "And the problem is, what exactly?" "Take Michael. Have the time of your life. Sun, drinks, and sex on the beach." "I can't. I just found out Michael's married. His wife and kids are moving here soon. I cannot go to Hawaii with him. I don't want anyone but Tom now." "Wait a second," Natalie said. "That whole Hawaii story, you sure he didn't just make that up to guilt you into backing off the divorce?" "Well, that's cold, but smart. He's playing this game better than I thought." "I want to fix this now," Rachel said, wiping her eyes. "He's going to regret making me feel like this." An hour later, I came downstairs with my bag. "So, this is it? You're moving out already?" She snapped. "Fine. Take your stuff. Good luck." "I'm not moving out just yet," I said. "Just taking a few things over early so I'm not hauling everything all at once. Lauren told me I could move in some stuff before the lease starts since the unit's empty." "Let me guess," she sneered. "Natalie told you this Hawaii trip was a setup?" That I made it all up just to throw you off? I shook my head and pulled out my phone. Let's settle it, I said, dialing. Hi, Helen. This is Tom Carter. You're on speakerphone with my wife, Rachel. Can you tell her about the Hawaii trip I booked with you? Of course, Mr. Carter, Helen said warmly. I was so sorry to hear you had to cancel. The trip was for 2 adults, 10 days, covering accommodations on 2 islands, meals, surf lessons, luau's, traditional Hawaiian shows. We even threw in a couple's massage package. It's one of our most romantic packages. When did he book it? Rachel asked, trying to catch me in a lie. Helen didn't miss a beat. He inquired in early January, finalized the booking in February, and paid in full 2 weeks after that. He called yesterday asking to cancel. We were only able to refund a portion, but he said you should still go, even if he couldn't. Rachel mumbled a thank you and hung up the call, clearly shaken. But she recovered fast, her mind already working overtime. You probably planned this whole thing with Helen, she accused. Trying to make me look like the bad guy. I just sighed. You should talk to your parents. What do they have to do with anything? She snapped. Who's going to watch the girls while you're away? I can figure that out later. No need. I already spoke to them, I said, dialing. Her mother answered. Rachel, sweetie, how are the girls? Hi, Carol, I said. You're on speaker with Rachel. Let me get Frank on the line, she said. Moments later, her father's voice came on. What's going on? He asked. I told Rachel everything, so we're not hiding it anymore, I said calmly. Wait, you're not going on the trip? Her mom asked. That's disappointing. We were looking forward to keeping the girls. We were even stocking up on snacks. When did Tom talk to you about the trip? Rachel asked, fishing for a timeline. It was around New Year's, Frank said. Yeah, he wanted to make sure we had enough notice. Rachel stood silently. Her face drained of color. Is everything okay between you two? Her mom asked. No, not exactly, Rachel said softly. We're trying out a trial separation. You mean divorce? Frank barked. No, not yet. We're just exploring time apart. Maybe to rebuild things later. Her dad didn't buy it. You seeing someone else? No, Rachel said, her voice cracking. Frank sighed deeply. I'm disappointed. We raised you better. I don't care who this other man is. Do not expect us to welcome him. And Tom, please promise us we can still see the girls. Rachel finally broke down. Tom's making all of this sound worse than it is. I take it back. No divorce. No separation. But I wasn't so sure anymore. I'll talk to you later, once things settle down, I said, watching Rachel fall apart in front of me. She was pacing the living room, clearly overwhelmed. You need to pull yourself together. The girls will be home soon. I picked up my suitcase and walked toward the door. Wait, where are you going? Didn't you hear me? I said I don't want a divorce anymore, she said, rushing toward me, eyes wide with desperation. You made that decision on your own, I told her firmly. You never asked how I felt before throwing the D word on the table. Now that it's not going how you expected, you think we can just undo everything? I have a say in this too, Rachel. After what I've learned about you this past week, I'm not sure backing out of the divorce is the right move. She reached for my arm. Please don't go. I messed up. I said some dumb things, and I got caught up in the idea of needing space. Can't we just hit reset? I looked at her for a long moment before answering. You told me you were unhappy. You talked about needing time to explore other people and hinted at getting involved with Michael. Whether anything physical happened or not, that's emotional cheating at the very least. That's not something I can just forget overnight. I get that now, she whispered. Emma, my cousin, is a lawyer. She said she can draw up the divorce paperwork as early as tomorrow, I added. I won't sign them, Rachel snapped. She doesn't need your signature to serve you. She can make sure you get those papers at work, maybe even in front of Michael. We could claim alienation of affection. I could also notify your boss since company policy clearly prohibits workplace relationships. She gasped. That's cruel. I'm not doing it to be cruel, I replied. But you need to be able to focus on the kids after we split. Still, I won't go that far. I'll just make sure Michael's wife hears everything. That should be punishment enough. Rachel looked down, defeated. I still love you, and I know you love me. Isn't there something, anything, I can do to fix this? I stayed quiet, letting the silence hang in the air. Her eyes lit up with a little hope when I finally spoke. I'll go stay at the apartment tonight like I planned. But if you want to stop the divorce, you'll have to do something first. Anything, she whispered. Write everything down. I want you to own up to how much you've hurt me. Write it in your own words. If it's honest and sincere, I'll consider delaying the divorce. I'll be back at 7 o'clock. Maybe ask your parents or friends to take the girls for the night so we can talk. Yes, yes, of course. What should I write? She asked eagerly. First, a real apology. Not just sorry, but asking for my forgiveness. Second, you tell Michael never to contact you again, and if he doesn't listen, you warn him I will take legal action. Third, list every reason you can think of that would make me want to stay married to you. And finally, this one's non-negotiable. You call Natalie and tell her you're done listening to her. If I ever hear you've taken advice from her again, I walk out for good. Understood? Yes, she said quietly. I'll do it. I'll be ready at 7 o'clock. Good, I said and left. Rachel got to work right away. She rehearsed what she would say to Natalie, then picked up the phone. Listening to you was the biggest mistake of my life, she said coldly. Because of you, I nearly lost the only man who ever truly loved me. Don't call. Don't text. Don't even think about me. If I ever see you in public, you better hope I'm in a forgiving mood. She hung up and took a deep breath, feeling oddly relieved. Then she called Michael. She told him everything, my terms, her decision. When he begged to meet one last time, she unloaded on him. She said she felt used, misled, and humiliated. Then she warned him. One more message and she'd tell his wife everything. With those bridges burned, she sat down to write. Surprisingly, the reasons to stay with me came pouring out. She thought back on the good years, the laughter, the times I stayed up late helping with the kids' science projects or fixing something around the house. She owned up to her selfishness and how thoughtless she had been. By 6:50, she had finished everything and was anxiously waiting. But when 7 o'clock came and went with no sign of me, her heart sank. At 7:05, I walked in, no suitcase this time, no change in my expression. She stood, holding the notebook. Here, these are my answers. I hope they're enough. I sat down and started reading. It took a while. When I looked up, my eyes were wet. Rachel gasped. Are those tears? Does that mean? I held up my hand. Your words, they hit me hard. You've clearly thought this through. But I don't think you realize just how deep this cut went. I'm still not sure I can stay. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I ruined everything. I destroyed our family. I don't even deserve to live. I knelt down beside her and whispered, now you know how I felt. After a while, I stood and walked toward the door. During the separation, I said softly, are we allowed to date? Through her tears, she looked up. I guess yeah. Okay then, I said, what are you doing Friday night? Want to get dinner and maybe see a movie? You're asking me out? She said, stunned. I guess I am. Our old relationship is gone. But maybe we can try starting something new. Yes, she shouted, jumping up. Yes, I'd love that.